Hello and welcome to a brand new chapter of the English Chatcast. I'm Ben.
I'm Anna, and today's episode is going to be different. Today, we aren't just chatting, we're building. Welcome to the very first episode of our deep dive series, The Blueprint for Effortless English.
Before we jump into today's episode, we'd love to ask you for a quick favor. If you're enjoying our content, please hit that like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Yeah, it really helps us reach more English learners around the world, and it lets us know that our content is valuable to you. Plus, you'll never miss our latest episodes.
You, our listeners, have told us that you know the words and you know the grammar, but when it's time to speak, there's this wall. And it's not just any wall. It's like trying to speak through mental quicksand. Your brain knows what you want to say, but it gets stuck in this endless loop of, wait, how do I say this? Followed by, is that grammatically correct? Followed by, did I pronounce that right?
Exactly. It's that stutter-stop feeling. You have the idea in your head, but it feels like you're trying to run through water to get the words out. And I get emails about this every single day. People saying, Anna, I studied for 3 years. I can read English novels, I can understand movies, but when someone asks me a simple question like, how was your weekend? I freeze up completely. This isn't a knowledge problem, it's a processing problem.
And here's what's really happening in your brain during that freeze-up moment. Let's say someone asks you, what did you do last night? Your brain immediately starts this mental gymnastics routine. First, it thinks, last night, in your native language, then it converts that to English. Then it thinks about what you actually did, maybe you watched Netflix, and it has to convert watched Netflix into English. But then your brain starts second-guessing. Is it watched or was watching? Should I say I watched a show or I watched TV? Meanwhile, the person who asked the question is standing there waiting, and you're having this entire internal debate.
Right. And the worst part is that while you're having this internal translation meeting, the other person might jump in with, oh, never mind, or change the topic entirely. So not only did you miss the chance to practice, but you also feel defeated. It's like your brain is running 3 different programs at once: the translation program, the grammar check program, and the panic program. No wonder it feels overwhelming. This is exactly why traditional language learning methods fall short. They teach you about English, but they don't teach you how to think in English.
Most people think they need more vocabulary. But the truth? You don't need more bricks, you need a better blueprint for how to put them together. Think about it. You probably already know thousands of English words. You could probably understand 80% of a normal conversation. The problem isn't what you know, it's how quickly you can access what you know. It's like having a massive toolbox, but spending 5 minutes looking for the right screwdriver every time you need it. We need to reorganize that toolbox so the tools you need most are right at your fingertips.
Right. In this first module, we're tearing down the biggest wall of all, the translation trap.
But before we dive into the solution, let's really understand what this translation trap looks like in real life. Anna, I want to paint a picture for our listeners. Imagine you're at a coffee shop and the barista asks, would you like room for cream? Now, if you're translating, your brain immediately goes into overdrive. Room for cream. What does that mean in my language? Oh, space. They want to know if I want space in the cup for cream. How do I respond? Do I say, yes, please give me room? Yes, I want space? Yes, room is good? By the time you've figured it out, the barista has probably moved on to the next customer.
Exactly. And here's what makes it even more frustrating. Room for cream is actually a very common English phrase, but it doesn't translate literally to most languages. So your brain is trying to make logical sense of something that's just a cultural expression. A fluent speaker would hear room for cream and instantly think, oh, they're asking if I want to leave space in my cup. They're not translating, they're just understanding the situation. This is what we call contextual thinking versus translational thinking. And this is exactly why we need to train your brain to skip the translation step entirely. So, Ben, let's be honest. When you were learning Filipino, did you translate in your head?
Oh, constantly. I'd think, I want to go to the store. Then I'd find the Filipino word for I want, then to go, then store. By the time I said it, the person I was talking to had already finished their shopping and gone home. But here's the really embarrassing part. I once spent a full minute trying to ask for directions to the bathroom. I was standing there going, I require, no, I want to. How do you say bathroom? Meanwhile, I'm literally dancing from foot to foot because I really needed to go. The person I was asking probably thought I was having some kind of medical emergency.
Exactly. That's the trap. When you translate, your brain is doing double the work. You're using the logical math part of your brain instead of the language part.
And that's such a crucial distinction. When you're translating, you're literally using the same part of your brain that you use to solve math problems. You're calculating. But when native speakers talk, they're using the intuitive part of their brain, the same part you use when you speak your native language. You don't calculate when you speak your native language, you just speak. The words flow because you've built those neural pathways through years of practice.
Think of your brain like a computer. Translating is like running a heavy program in the background. It slows everything down. Your computer might be trying to run Photoshop, but if it's also running a virus scan and updating 20 different programs at the same time, everything becomes sluggish and unresponsive. That's exactly what happens when you try to translate while speaking. Your brain is trying to run the Speak English program, but it's also running Translate from Native Language, Grammar Check, Pronunciation Monitor, and Confidence Analyzer all at the same time. No wonder it crashes. And here's the kicker. English and your native language don't map one-to-one. If you translate word for word, you'll end up saying things that sound robotic, or worse, totally confusing. Let me give you a perfect example of this. In Spanish, you say tengo hambre, which word for word translates to I have hunger. But in English, we say I am hungry. If you translate directly, you'd say, I have hunger. And while people might understand you, it sounds completely unnatural. Or in German, when you say, es ist mir egal, which literally means, it is to me equal, but in English, we say, I don't care. These aren't just different words. They're completely different ways of thinking about the same concept.
Exactly, and this is why so many English learners sound robotic or stilted, even when they're using perfect grammar. They're translating concepts instead of thinking in English patterns. In English, we catch a cold, but in many languages, you become sick or get sick. If you translate directly, you might say, I became cold, or I got a cold illness. Technically, people will understand, but it doesn't sound natural. The key is to stop thinking, how do I translate this concept, and start thinking, how do English speakers express this idea? It's a completely different mental approach. To be effortless, you have to stop being a translator and start being a connector. So, how do we break the habit? We start with the sound-object bridge.
This is a mental exercise that's going to feel weird at first, but stick with me. Most learners see an object, let's say a coffee cup, and their brain goes, object, then word in native language, then cup. So if you're Spanish, you might see the cup, think taza, and then translate that to cup. But what if we could skip that middle step entirely? What if you could see the cup and immediately think cup without any translation? That's exactly what we're training your brain to do with the sound object bridge.
We want to cut out that middleman.
And here's exactly how you practice this. Start with objects you see every single day. When you wake up, look at your alarm clock and think clock. Not the word in your language, just the English sound clock. Look at your pillow and think pillow. Your phone, your shoes, your toothbrush. For each object, bypass your native language completely. At first, your brain will resist this. It's used to that translation step. You might even find yourself thinking the word in your language first, and that's okay. Just gently redirect your brain to the English word. After about a week of this practice, something amazing happens. You start thinking directly in English for these basic objects. Right now, look at something on your desk. Don't think of its name in your language. Look at it and label it directly with the English sound. If you see a pen, don't think about how to say pen in your language. Just think pen. If you see papers, think papers. If you see a computer screen, think screen. Do this for 10 different objects around you right now. I'm serious. Pause the episode if you need to and actually do this exercise. This isn't just theory, it's rewiring your brain in real time.
Laptop, pen, phone.
It sounds simple, but you're actually rewiring your neural pathways. You're telling your brain the English word is the object. Think about how a baby learns language. A baby doesn't see a ball and think pelota and then translate it to ball. A baby sees a round, bouncy thing and learns to associate that directly with the sound ball. We're essentially teaching your adult brain to create these same direct connections. And the beautiful thing is, once you establish these pathways for common objects, your brain starts creating them automatically for new words too. It's like installing a new operating system that thinks in English first.
And this leads us to our first blueprint tool, the 5-minute narration.
This is where we get practical. Ben, explain how the narration works for the blueprint.
For 5 minutes a day, while you're making breakfast or driving, I want you to narrate your life like a documentary. But here's the rule: no complex grammar allowed. This is the most powerful exercise we teach, and here's why it works so well. When you narrate your actions in real time, you don't have time to translate. You're forced to find the most direct path from thought to English words. You become a sports commentator of your own life. I open the refrigerator. I see milk. I take the milk. I pour the milk into my coffee. Simple, direct, immediate.
Keep it caveman simple if you have to.
And let me give you more specific examples of what this sounds like in practice. Let's say you're getting ready for work. Instead of thinking, I need to find something appropriate to wear for today's important meeting, you just say, I need clothes. I open the closet. I see a blue shirt. The blue shirt looks good. I take the blue shirt. Don't worry about sounding sophisticated. Worry about sounding immediate. The goal is to match the speed of your thoughts with the speed of English words coming out of your mouth.
Exactly. Instead of thinking, I am currently wondering if I should perhaps prepare some eggs for my breakfast this morning, just say, I see eggs. I want eggs. I take the eggs. I crack the eggs. I put the eggs in the pan. The eggs are cooking. The eggs smell good. I flip the eggs. The eggs are ready. Notice how every sentence is immediate and connected to what's happening right now. You're not planning ahead. You're not explaining why. You're just describing the present moment as it happens.
The goal isn't to be poetic. The goal is to make the English sound come out at the exact same time as the action.
Now, let me tell you about the 3 biggest mistakes people make with this exercise, because I guarantee you're going to make at least one of them. Mistake number 1, trying to be grammatically perfect. You'll start saying, I am opening the refrigerator door in order to retrieve the milk, instead of just, I open the fridge, I get milk. Remember, caveman simple. Mistake number 2, stopping when you don't know a word. If you don't know how to say something, describe it instead. Don't know the word spatula? Say the flat cooking thing. Don't know faucet? Say the water thing. Keep the flow going no matter what.
And mistake number 3? This is the big one. Narrating your thoughts instead of your actions. You'll catch yourself saying, I think I should probably make coffee now because I'm feeling tired. No, that's not narration, that's internal commentary. Narration is, I walk to the kitchen, I turn on the coffee machine, I put coffee in the filter. Actions, not thoughts. Actions, not plans. Actions, not explanations. If you catch yourself using words like because, maybe, probably, or I think, stop and redirect back to simple present tense actions.
Here are some perfect times to practice your 5-minute narration. When you're doing dishes, I pick up a plate. The plate is dirty. I put soap on the sponge. I clean the plate. The plate is clean now. When you're walking to work, I leave my house. I lock the door. I walk down the street. I see a red car. I cross the street. When you're shopping, I enter the store. I take a cart. I go to the fruit section. I see apples. I choose 3 apples. The beauty of this exercise is that you can do it anywhere, anytime, and no one even knows you're practicing English.
Action, sound, action, sound. No time for translation. No time for, wait, is it the or Just flow.
Try it right now while you're listening to this. I am listening to Ben. I am sitting in my chair. I am holding my phone. I am learning about English. I am thinking about this exercise. I am breathing. I am blinking. See how easy it becomes when you just describe what's actually happening right now? Don't make it complicated. Don't add explanations. Just observe and describe. If you're driving, say, I am driving. I see a blue car. I turn the steering wheel. I stop at a red light. If you're walking, say, I am walking. I feel the sun. I see a dog. The dog is brown.
Perfect. What makes this technique so powerful is that it's training multiple skills simultaneously. First, you're building vocabulary through context. You're not memorizing word lists, you're using words while they're relevant. Second, you're developing fluency patterns. Your mouth is getting used to forming English sounds quickly. Third, and most importantly, you're building confidence. After a week of narrating your morning routine, when someone asks, how do you make your breakfast, you'll already have the language patterns ready to go because you've been practicing them every day.
This is phase 1 of our blueprint system. Before we can teach you how to sound natural or advanced, we have to clear the background noise of translation. Think of it like cleaning a dirty windshield. You can't see the road clearly until you remove all the grime. Right now, your English is covered in translation grime. Every time you speak, your brain is running that translation program in the background, and it's slowing everything down. Phase 1 is about cleaning that windshield so you can see clearly and drive smoothly. Once you've mastered this foundation, everything else becomes so much easier.
Your mission for this week? Do the 5-minute narration twice a day. Once in the morning while you're getting ready, and once in the evening while you're doing something routine like cooking or cleaning. But here's the key, same time every day. Your brain loves patterns, so if you do your morning narration at 7:30 a.m. every day while making breakfast, it becomes automatic. After about 4 days, you'll find yourself naturally starting to think in English during those times, even when you're not consciously practicing. That's when you know it's working.
And in our next episode, episode 2, we're going to show you how to take those simple labels and turn them into phrasal blocks, the secret to speaking in full sentences without ever thinking about grammar. We'll teach you the chunk and connect method, where you learn to group words together in natural English patterns. So instead of thinking, I want to go word by word, you'll think in chunks like, I want to and go to the store. Plus, we have a special technique called pattern stacking that will blow your mind. It's how you can take one simple pattern and multiply it into hundreds of different sentences. By the end of episode 2, you'll be speaking in complete natural sentences without any mental translation. Before we wrap up, let's quickly recap what we covered today, because this foundation is absolutely critical. We identified the translation trap, that mental process that's slowing down your English and making you sound robotic. We introduced the sound-object-bridge technique to help you think directly in English for everyday objects. And we gave you the 5-minute narration exercise, which is your daily practice to break the translation habit. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. If you can reduce your translation time by even 50% this week, you're going to notice a huge difference in your fluency and confidence. Trust the process, be patient with yourself, and practice consistently.
And here's something to keep you motivated this week. Every single person who has ever become fluent in English has had to go through this exact same process. Even those people you admire who seem to speak perfect English had to train their brains to stop translating. The difference is, most of them didn't have a systematic method like the blueprint for effortless English. They just struggled through it and eventually figured it out through trial and error. You're getting the shortcut. You're getting the exact steps that will take you from translator to English thinker. So when you feel frustrated this week, and you will, that's normal, remember that every moment of practice is rewiring your brain and making you a better English speaker. Stick with it.
It's gonna be a game changer. I'm Ben.
And I'm Anna. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. If you are listening to this right now, it means you have already taken the first big leap. You have finished episode 1. You have acknowledged that the translation trap is the biggest wall standing between you and fluency, and you are officially ready to start building.
It is such an exciting place to be. I know from talking to so many of our listeners that the first step is often the scariest because it requires you to let go of everything you were taught in school. You have to stop being a student of grammar and start being a practitioner of speech.
That is exactly right. And today we are giving you the actual architecture for that speech. This is Module 1, Episode 2, and we are calling this the Lego method.
I absolutely love this analogy because it takes the stress out of the room. When you think about language as a massive mountain of rules and irregular verbs, it feels impossible. But when you think about it as a bucket of colorful plastic blocks that you just snap together, it becomes a game. Before we begin discussing the Lego method, we'd like to ask our listeners for a small favor. If you enjoy our Chatcast and find it helpful, please click the like button for this episode and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Good point, Anna. Liking our episodes and subscribing to our channel ensures that we can continue to offer valuable content in the future.
Anna, think back to when you were a child. Imagine you are sitting on the floor with a giant pile of Lego bricks. You want to build a house. Now, do you sit there and worry about how the plastic was made? Do you think about the chemical melting point of the red brick versus the blue brick? Do you try to carve your own bricks out of raw wood?
Of course not. That would be ridiculous. You would never get the house built. You just reach into the pile, you find a piece that looks like a window, and you snap it onto a piece that looks like a wall. You are using pre-made shapes to create a new reality.
This is precisely where most English learners go wrong. They are trying to manufacture their own bricks while they are in the middle of a high-pressure conversation. They are trying to remember if the verb is singular or plural, if the preposition is in or at, and if the word order is correct. They are trying to build the plastic while the person they are talking to is waiting for them to finish the house.
It is exhausting for the speaker, and honestly, it is exhausting for the listener too. But today, we are going to change that. We are handing you your first professional bucket of pre-assembled parts. In the blueprint, we call these phrasal blocks.
I really wish someone had told me about phrasal blocks when I was first trying to learn a second language. I spent years memorizing lists of single words. I was like a builder showing up to a construction site with 10,000 tiny grains of sand, trying to glue them together one by one to make a brick. It took forever.
And the worst part is, even if you glue them together perfectly, they often don't look like a real brick. They look like a strange homemade version of a brick. That is what happens when you translate word for word. You might be grammatically correct, but you don't sound natural.
So, let's get into the heart of it. What exactly is a phrasal block? In the academic world, they use big words like lexical chunks or formulaic sequences. But we prefer blocks because it reminds you that these are solid, unbreakable units of sound.
A phrasal block is simply a group of words that are frequent friends. They have spent so much time together in the history of the English language that they have essentially fused into one single sound. They don't like to be separated, and they certainly don't like to be analyzed.
A perfect example that we use almost every single day is the phrase, by the way. Now let's look at that through the eyes of a translator. A translator looks at that and sees three separate words. They see by, they see the, and they see way.
And they get stuck immediately. They think, okay, by is a preposition. Does it mean next to, or does it mean created by? And way, is that a road? Is it a direction? If you try to translate those three words into your native language, the result is usually complete nonsense.
But if you are using the blueprint, you don't see three words. You see one single shape. You hear one single sound. By the way. It is a Lego brick that you use when you want to add a new piece of information to a conversation. You don't have to understand why it works. You just have to know that it does work.
This is the secret that native speakers have been hiding from you. When Ben and I are talking to each other right now, our brains are not working very hard. We are not choosing individual words. We're just reaching into our mental Lego buckets and grabbing blocks we have used 10,000 times before.
It is like the autofill feature on your smartphone. When you start typing a message, your phone suggests the next three words because it knows those words usually go together. Phrasal blocks are the autofill for your mouth. They allow you to speak at the speed of thought because you are processing groups of words instead of individual letters.
Imagine the relief your brain feels when it realizes it doesn't have to build a 10-word sentence. It only has to snap together 2 or 3 blocks. Suddenly, you have 80% more mental energy to focus on what you are actually saying, rather than how you are saying it.
I had a student a few years ago who was incredibly frustrated. He had a massive vocabulary. He knew all the fancy words you find in literature, but every time he went to a business meeting, he felt like a failure because he couldn't keep up with the rhythm of the conversation.
I bet he was trying to build every sentence from scratch.
Exactly. He had 10,000 grains of sand and no bricks. I told him to stop learning new words and start collecting blocks. I told him to listen to how his colleagues started their sentences. Within a month, his confidence exploded. He wasn't smarter, he was just using better tools.
That is such a powerful shift. So let's open up the Lego bucket for everyone listening and show them the 3 specific starter kits that every effortless speaker needs to have.
The first kit is what I call the social lubricants. These are the blocks that help a conversation move smoothly. They are the phrases that open doors and connect ideas. One of the absolute best is, I was wondering if.
Oh, that is a classic blueprint block. Look at that structure. It is 4 words. If you try to analyze the grammar there, you start wondering, why is it past continuous? Why am I using was wondering? Does that mean I am not wondering now?
Stop! You are giving me a headache just thinking about it. None of that matters. What matters is that I was wondering is a polite, natural, and highly flexible way to ask for something.
You can snap almost anything onto the end of it. I was wondering if you have a minute. I was wondering if we could go to lunch. I was wondering if it is going to rain. It is a master key. Once you have that one block, you can unlock 100 different conversations without ever thinking about verb tenses.
Another great one in this kit is, do you happen to know? Again, don't worry about the word happen, don't worry about the infinitive, just hear the sound, do you happen to know? It is a professional, soft way to ask for information. It makes you sound sophisticated and natural at the same time.
The second kit is the opinion framework. This is the kit that saves you from the I think loop. We have all heard it. Every sentence starts with I think. I think it is good. I think the weather is nice. I think I am tired.
It sounds like a robot reading a shopping list. It is very repetitive, and it actually makes it harder for people to listen to you because the rhythm never changes.
So instead of I think, reach for these blocks. If you ask me, or as far as I am concerned, or my personal favorite, to be honest with you.
To be honest with you is a total game changer for fluency, and here is why. It gives your brain a loading screen.
Explain that, Ben. I think that is a concept people really need to understand.
Okay, think about when you are watching a video online and the internet is slow. The video pauses for a second to buffer or load the next part so it can play smoothly. When you use a long phrasal block like, to be honest with you, your mouth is on autopilot. You don't have to think about those 5 words because they are one single block.
So while your mouth is saying those 5 words, your brain has 2 or 3 extra seconds of free time to plan the rest of the sentence.
Exactly. You are buying yourself time. You are buffering your speech. By the time you finish saying, to be honest with you, the next part of your thought is fully loaded and ready to come out. That is how you avoid the and the and those long, awkward silences in the middle of a sentence.
It is brilliant. You are using the automatic parts of language to support the creative parts of language. And the third kit? Those are the time and space connectors.
In the meantime, or sooner or later, or every once in a while.
These are the textures of English. If you only use basic words, your speech feels flat. But when you drop in a block, like every once in a while, it adds color. It tells the listener that you understand the music of the language, not just the definitions of the words.
So now the big question. How do you find these? Because you can't just go to a store and buy a box of English Legos.
Actually, you can, but the store is this podcast. The store is the movies you watch and the songs you hear, but you have to change the way you are shopping.
Most students shop for new words. They sit there with a notebook and they wait for a big, rare word like magnificent or exhilarating. They write it down, they feel proud, and then they never use it because, let's be honest, how often do you really need to say the word exhilarating?
Almost never. Unless you are on a roller coaster, maybe.
Right. So stop shopping for new words. Start shopping for frequent friends. From now on, when you listen to us talk,
I don't want you to listen for the meaning of the words. You already know most of the meanings. I want you to listen for the rhythm. I want you to listen for the groups of words that Ben and Anna always say together.
Like when Ben says, "the thing is," he says that all the time.
I really do. It is a problem, but it is a perfect block. The thing is, 3 words. It signals to the listener that I am about to explain something important. It is a block I have used so many times that I could say it in my sleep.
That is what we want for you. We want you to become a curator of blocks. A curator is someone who looks at a whole gallery of art and picks only the pieces that belong together.
So here is your exercise for this week. Pick 10 minutes of any English audio. It could be this podcast, it could be a YouTube video, it could be a scene from a movie. Listen to it 3 times.
The first time, just listen for the general idea. The second time, listen for the nouns and verbs. But the third time, that is the blueprint listen. I want you to find 3 phrasal blocks, groups of 3 or 4 words that the speaker said as if they were one single word.
Once you find them, write them down. But here is the most important part of the exercise. You have to test the snaps.
I love this part. Testing the snaps means seeing how flexible the block is.
Exactly. If you find the block, "I am looking forward to," try to snap 10 different things onto the end of it. I am looking forward to the weekend. I am looking forward to seeing you. I am looking forward to my dinner. I am looking forward to the holiday. If you can snap a lot of different things onto a block, you have found a high-value piece of the blueprint. That block is now a permanent part of your Lego bucket. You never have to think about the grammar of that phrase ever again. You have mastered it. Now, we should talk about the danger zone, because not every group of words is a good Lego block. Oh, that is so true. Some students try to turn everything into a block. They try to memorize whole scripts or paragraphs.
I have seen that. They memorize a 5-sentence explanation of their job, and they sound great for those 5 sentences. But the moment someone asks them a question that isn't in the script, they crash. They have no more bricks left.
That is not a block. That is a cage. A real phrasal block must be flexible. It must be a basic shape that you can use in 100 different conversations. If you find a group of words and you can only think of one specific situation where you would use it, throw it away. It is taking up space in your brain. You want the 2x4 red bricks. You want the pieces that can build a house today and a spaceship tomorrow. Another thing to watch out for are what I call broken blocks. These are phrases students build themselves that sound grammatically okay, but feel wrong to a native speaker. Like when someone says, "according to me."
Oh, that is a tough one. It is a very common mistake. A student thinks, well, I can say according to the news, so why can't I say according to me? But it just doesn't exist as a block in English. We say, "in my opinion," or "if you ask me." This is why the blueprint rule is only use blocks that you have heard a native speaker use at least 3 times. We call this the rule of 3. If you hear me say it, then you hear Anna say it, and then you hear a character in a movie say it, it is a safe, solid Lego brick. You can trust it. This really takes the pressure off, doesn't it? You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to invent the language. You just have to be a good observer. You just have to be a good collector of sounds. It really does. I think the biggest burden for English learners is the feeling that they have to be original. They think they have to create every sentence like it is a work of art. But language isn't art. It is a tool, and tools are standardized. A hammer is a hammer, a screwdriver is a screwdriver. You don't reinvent the hammer every time you want to drive a nail. You just pick up the tool and use it. Phrasal blocks are your tools, and the more you have in your belt, the more effortless your work becomes.
So let's look at some more examples to really fill up everyone's bucket today. One of my favorites for everyday life is, I will get back to you.
That is a professional powerhouse. Think about the blocks inside that. I will get back to you. 5 words. If you are translating, you're thinking, okay, will is future, get is, well, get has 50 meanings, back is a direction. You will get lost in the forest of words.
But as a block, it is one single intention. It means, I don't have the answer now, but I will tell you later. It is smooth, it is polite, and it works in an office or with your friends.
It is not a big deal.
Oh, I use that one constantly. It is 6 words. It is a massive block, but we hear it as one sound. It's not a big deal. It is the ultimate block for relaxing a situation.
And notice how the stress works in these blocks. We don't say every word with the same power. We don't say, it is not a big deal.
You sound like a very angry robot, Ben.
Exactly. We say, it's not a big deal. The stress is at the end. The whole block has its own rhythm, its own melody. When you learn the block, you learn the melody for free. You don't have to study word stress because the block teaches it to you.
This is why phrasal blocks help your pronunciation too. You are learning the music of the phrase, not just the dictionary definition. You are learning how the words link together.
Out of. 2 small words. But we don't say out of. We say outa.
Out of coffee. Out of time. Out of luck.
If you learn out of as a block, you automatically learn the natural linking. You don't have to take a pronunciation class to know that the T sounds like a D. You just hear the sound of the Lego brick and you copy it.
It is the ultimate shortcut. It is like finding a secret path through the woods that takes you to the finish line in half the time.
So, as we wrap up this second phase of the blueprint, I want everyone to take a deep breath. I want you to feel that weight lifting off your shoulders. You do not have to build English 1 grain of sand at a time anymore.
You are now a builder. You are an architect. You are looking for shapes. You are looking for blocks.
Your mission for this episode is very specific. I want you to go into the comments section right now. I want you to pick 1 block we have talked about today. It could be, I was wondering if, or to be honest with you, or in the meantime.
Pick just one, and then I want you to test the snaps. Write 3 different sentences using that block in 3 different ways.
We will be in the comments looking for your work. We want to see how you are building your bucket. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. A broken Lego brick is still a piece of the game. We are here to help you snap them together correctly.
And remember, the more you practice finding these blocks, the more your brain will start to see them everywhere. It is like when you buy a new car and suddenly you see that same car on every street corner.
Once you know about phrasal blocks, you will start hearing them in every movie, every song, and every conversation. Your ears will literally change. You will stop hearing words and you will start hearing the music of the blueprint.
In our next episode, Module 1, Episode 3, we are going to take these blocks and we are going to move them into your actual physical world. We are going to talk about the labeling method.
It is one of my favorite techniques because it turns your house into a 24/7 English immersion lab. You don't even have to leave your kitchen to become fluent.
I am really looking forward to that one. It is where the blueprint becomes very real and very practical.
Me too. But for now, focus on your Lego bucket. Focus on the frequent friends. Stop translating, start connecting, and start snapping those blocks together.
We are so proud of the progress you are making already. Just by finishing these first 2 episodes, you are already thinking differently than 90% of English learners out there.
Great job, everyone. You're on the right path. I'm Ben.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Anna. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave comments about the Chatcast. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.
Welcome back to the English Chatcast, everyone. In our Blueprint for Effortless English course, we have already covered the mental shift in Episode 1 and the power of phrasal blocks in Episode 2, but today we are taking the blueprint out of your headphones and into your actual house. This is Module 1, Episode 3, and we are talking about the labeling method.
Before we begin, we'd like to ask our listeners for a small favor. If you enjoy our Chatcast and find it helpful, please click the like button for this episode and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Good point, Anna. Liking our episodes and subscribing to our channel ensures that we can continue to offer valuable content in the future.
I have been looking forward to this episode because it solves the biggest problem our listeners have. They feel great when they are listening to us, and they feel like they understand everything, and they feel like they are making real progress. But the moment they turn off the podcast and walk into their kitchen to make a sandwich, English just disappears. Their brain switches back to their native language instantly.
It is a universal experience. It's like they have a study mode switch in their brain. When the podcast is on or the textbook is open, they're in English mode. The moment the environment changes, they are back to reality. Today, we're going to break that switch. We're going to show you how to turn your entire home into a 24/7 fluency lab without ever opening a textbook or paying for an expensive immersion course.
Now, when people hear the word labeling, they usually think of those little yellow sticky notes. They imagine a house covered in paper. They imagine putting a note on a door that says door, or a note on a window that says window. Ben, tell them why that is a total waste of time for someone at this level.
It really is a waste of time. If you are at this stage of the blueprint, you already know the word for door. You have known that since your first week of English class. Labeling objects with nouns is for toddlers. It does not help you speak effortlessly because you never walk into a room and just say the word door. It does not help you communicate a thought. It just helps you identify an object.
Exactly. The reason we forget English words when we actually need them in real life is that they are homeless. They live in a vocabulary list or a digital flashcard app. They have no physical weight. But your coffee machine has a home. You know how it smells, and you know the specific clicking sound it makes when it starts, and you know how the warm handle feels in your hand. Your brain has a deep physical sensory memory for that machine.
The labeling method is about sticking English sounds directly onto those physical memories so that the object itself triggers the English thought. But the secret of the blueprint is that we are not labeling the object, we are labeling the action.
This is the massive game changer. Instead of labeling your refrigerator fridge, I want you to imagine a label that says, grab a snack, or checking for food. Think about how many times a day you open that door just to see what is inside.
I do it at least 10 times a day. If I had a label there, I would be practicing that phrase constantly. See the difference? Fridge is just a noun. It's static and boring. But grab a snack is a phrasal block. It's a piece of real, living English that you would actually say to a friend or a spouse. When you see that label, you are practicing a full, natural thought every time you are hungry.
Let's talk about the bathroom mirror. Do not label it mirror. Think of the phrase, fixing my hair, or even better, looking good today. Every time you look in that mirror to brush your hair or check your teeth, that English phrase should pop into your head. You're building a literal bridge between your physical movement and the English sound. You are bypassing the translation center of your brain entirely.
If you do this for just 5 objects in your house, you are forcing your brain to think in English 5 times a day. You are not studying. You are just living your life, but you are doing it with an English soundtrack that you have created for yourself. It is about creating a habitat where English is the only language that makes sense for those specific actions.
I know what some people are thinking right now. They are thinking, Ben and Anna, I do not want my house covered in sticky notes. My family will think I have lost my mind, or my roommates will complain about the mess.
I hear that all the time. My own wife would probably move out if I labeled every single thing in our kitchen. If you want to keep your blueprint invisible, you can use the mental labeling technique. I used this when I was learning my second language, and it was the single most effective thing I did to reach fluency.
Tell them exactly how it works, Ben. Give them the play-by-play.
Okay, tomorrow morning when you wake up, the goal is to have 0 seconds of your native language in your head. Do not say anything out loud yet. Just label the first 3 things you touch with an action block in your mind. When you hit your alarm, you think, hitting the snooze button. When you pull back the covers, you think, getting out of bed. When you walk to the sink, you think, splashing cold water on my face.
I love that. You are essentially narrating your life internally like a movie character. This is how you bridge the gap between being a person who studies English and being a person who is an English speaker. You are making the language part of your muscle memory. It becomes as automatic as walking or breathing.
It is all about the connection. In school, we are taught that English is a subject like history or math. You go to a room and you sit at a desk and you do English. But English is not a subject, it is a tool. The labeling method treats English like a hammer or a screwdriver. You use it while you are actually doing things. You do not study a hammer, you use it to hit a nail.
That is a perfect analogy. Let's give them a massive list of these action labels so they can start building their own today. Let's walk through the house. What about the front door?
Instead of door, try heading out or locking up. Those are phrases you will use every single day of your life.
And the sofa in the living room?
Instead of sofa, try taking a break, or sitting down, or even putting my feet up.
Oh, I like putting my feet up. That is a great idiom. See how these are all phrases you would actually use in a conversation? You are practicing the most useful parts of the language while you are actually performing the movements. It makes the connection in your brain 10 times stronger than any textbook could.
Let's keep going. What about the closet? Instead of closet, try picking out a shirt or getting dressed. Think about the laundry. Instead of laundry, try folding the clothes or putting things away.
And the computer? Instead of computer or laptop, try checking my emails or typing a message. These are the building blocks of a real life. If you can talk about your daily chores without thinking, you will be shocked at how much easier it is to talk about complex things later on.
Exactly. If you have to struggle to find the words for making coffee, you are never going to have the mental energy to talk about politics or business. You have to automate the small things first. This is the foundation of the blueprint.
I remember when I was learning my second language, I struggled so much with the word for keys. I would always forget it. Finally, I put a small label on the bowl where I keep my keys that said, "Grabbing my keys." I saw it every morning for a week. I never forgot the word again. Not because I studied it, but because I saw it at the exact moment I was actually grabbing them.
That is the power of the sensory anchor. You are tying the sound to the physical sensation of the cold metal keys in your hand. That is a permanent connection. You could not forget it if you tried.
You guys are doing an amazing job following along with this series, but we have to be honest with you. The blueprint only works if you actually build it. You cannot just listen to Ben and I talk and expect to wake up fluent tomorrow morning. You have to take the information and put it into your world.
You really do. Knowledge without action is just trivia. We do not want you to know trivia about English. We want you to speak it. So, here is your mission for this episode. I want you to look around you right now, wherever you are. Are you in a car? Are you in an office? Are you at home? Pick 3 objects in your immediate surroundings. In the comments section below, tell us the action block you are going to give those 3 objects.
And remember the golden rule of Module 1. No nouns. If you write table or chair or phone in the comments, we are going to know you were not listening. Give us the action. Tell us what you do with that object. Use at least 3 words for each block.
You know, Anna, thinking about the labeling method reminds me of that time I tried to learn how to cook by reading a book without actually being in the kitchen. I knew all the terms like sauté and julienne, but the moment I stood in front of a stove, I panicked. I could not connect the words to the heat and the pans.
That is exactly what happens with language. You can know the dictionary definition of a phrasal verb like pick up or set down, but until you are actually picking up your keys or setting down your bag while saying the words, it is just abstract information. It has no weight in your life.
Exactly. And that is why I love the idea of the house being a lab. You do not need to go to a classroom. Your kitchen is a classroom. Your bedroom is a classroom. Even your shower is a classroom. Think about the blocks you can practice while you are showering, washing my hair, rinsing off, turning the water up.
It is true. There is no part of your life that cannot be blueprinted. And the more you do it, the more you realize that English is not this scary foreign thing. It is just another way to describe the things you already do every single day. It makes the language feel friendly.
Friendly. I like that. We want English to feel like an old friend, not a demanding boss. We want it to be something that supports you and helps you express yourself without making you work too hard.
And that is the goal of this entire 50-episode journey. We are going to be with you every step of the way, from these first basic foundation blocks to the most complex professional and social situations in the later modules.
So do not get discouraged if it feels slow at first. Every label you place and every mental sentence you form is a brick in your castle. Eventually, you will look back and realize you have built something magnificent.
We really believe in you guys. The fact that you are here listening to episode 3 means you have the discipline to go all the way. Most people quit after the first 10 minutes of anything new. You are still here. That means you have the blueprint mindset.
It really does. So one last time for the people in the back, pick your 3 objects and create your action blocks and put them in the comments. Let us see what you've got.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Anna. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave comments about the Chatcast. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio for episode 4 of our first module. We have already covered the translation trap and learned how to build phrasal blocks and map them onto your physical world. But today, we are going to talk about the primary reason people stop making progress. This is Module 1, Episode 1, and we are talking about why you must stop overcorrecting.
Before we begin, we'd like to ask our listeners for a small favor. If you enjoy our Chatcast and find it helpful, please click the like button for this episode and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Good point, Anna. Liking our episodes and subscribing to our channel ensures that we can continue to offer valuable content in the future.
I am so glad we are diving into this overcorrecting topic today because it's the #1 killer of fluency. It is the silent enemy that sits on your shoulder and whispers in your ear every time you try to open your mouth. People think that to learn English perfectly, they need to fix every tiny mistake immediately.
It is actually the complete opposite. Your brain is like a river, but a river can only flow if the path is clear of obstacles. Every time you stop to fix a small grammar mistake or a preposition, you are putting a giant rock in the middle of that river.
Right.
Eventually, the water stops moving entirely. When you are constantly overcorrecting your English, your brain literally freezes. It becomes physically impossible for you to maintain a natural rhythm.
We have all felt that freeze. You are talking to someone and you know the message you want to send, but your inner teacher starts screaming about the third person singular S or the past tense of an irregular verb.
Suddenly, your heart starts beating fast, and your mind is a complete blank. You feel like you have forgotten every single thing you ever learned because you were too busy trying to be perfect.
That is the perfectionism trap. It is a psychological wall that goes up when you feel like you are being judged by yourself. When that internal pressure is high, no amount of knowledge will help you speak.
Exactly.
But when you give yourself permission to be messy, when you are relaxed and having fun and ignoring the small errors, the English flows out of you effortlessly.
So today, we are going to show you how to silence that inner teacher. We are going to show you how to protect your flow from the parts of your brain that want to turn a conversation into a grammar test. This is a vital part of the blueprint for effortless English.
The first rule of stopping overcorrection is to prioritize the message over the mechanics. Most students are constantly monitoring the mechanics of their speech. They are looking at the gears and the wires while they are trying to drive the car.
Yeah.
This is like trying to enjoy a movie while staring at the individual pixels on the screen.
You are just going to miss the story if you do that. You have to step back and look at the whole picture. You have to trust that the car will move even if there is a tiny squeak in the engine.
Exactly. From now on, when you speak, I want you to give yourself permission to make mistakes. Your only job is to get your point across to the other person.
Right.
If you use the wrong preposition, but they still understand you, that is a massive victory. The correction will come later through listening, not through stopping your own speech mid-sentence.
This is a very big shift for people who grew up in traditional classrooms. In school, you are often punished for mistakes. If you say go instead of went, the teacher stops the whole class to fix it.
But in the blueprint, we do not stop the class. We keep the conversation moving because movement is the only way to reach fluency.
The second rule is to realize that self-correction kills the listener's interest. If I am talking to you and I stop every 3 words to fix a verb, it is very hard for you to follow my thought.
Right, totally.
It makes the listener feel uncomfortable. They would much rather hear a few mistakes and a smooth story than perfect grammar and a broken rhythm.
You have to find the sweet spot of communication. We call this the flow state. This means your English should be a continuous stream of sound. It should be interesting enough to keep the listener engaged and fast enough that you aren't overanalyzing your own choices.
That is why we designed the Chatcast the way we did. We speak naturally, and we don't stop to explain every tiny detail. We want you to feel the momentum.
Yeah.
That feeling of momentum is the best fuel for your brain. It makes you feel like an English speaker rather than an English student.
I think we should talk about the inner critic again. That little voice in your head that tells you that you sound stupid or that your grammar is basic.
Oh, that voice is the ultimate enemy of the blueprint. The inner critic is the one who holds the brakes on your fluency. To stop overcorrecting, you have to ignore that voice.
You have to realize that native speakers do not care about your minor errors nearly as much as you think they do.
It is true. When I talk to someone who is learning my language, I am not looking for mistakes to fix. I'm just looking for a connection. I'm trying to understand their ideas.
Right.
If they say he like instead of he likes, I do not even notice it most of the time. I am focused on the human being in front of me.
So, how do we actually stop this habit at home? One of my favorite techniques is the 3-minute blur. For 3 minutes, I want you to talk to yourself or a recording device, and you are forbidden from stopping.
Wait, Ben, that sounds terrifying for a lot of people. They feel like if they don't stop, they are just practicing bad habits.
I know it sounds terrifying, but hear me out. You aren't practicing bad habits because your brain already knows the correct version from all the listening you were doing.
Okay.
What you are actually practicing is the courage to keep going. You are training your brain to ignore the error and prioritize the flow.
So you are saying we should let the mistakes happen so the rhythm can survive.
Exactly. When you prioritize the rhythm, the mistakes eventually iron themselves out because you are hearing so much correct English in our other episodes.
Right.
But if you stop to fix the mistake, you never build the rhythm. And without rhythm, you never get fluency. It is the natural result of letting go of control.
I love that. It makes so much sense. If you remove the pressure to be perfect, you can focus entirely on being present. It is like a weight being lifted off your chest. You are just sharing your thoughts, and the English is just the vehicle for those thoughts.
Another key to stopping overcorrection is understanding the difference between conscious knowledge and subconscious ability. Grammar rules live in your conscious mind. Fluency lives in your subconscious mind.
Your conscious mind is very slow. It cannot keep up with a real conversation.
If you try to use your conscious mind to speak, you will always be too slow. You have to trust your subconscious to grab the phrasal blocks we talked about in episode 2.
Right.
When you overcorrect, you are trying to force the slow part of your brain to do the job of the fast part.
This is what we call the monitor effect. You are monitoring your speech too much. Your brain thinks it is just having a good time, but meanwhile, the monitor is acting like a strict police officer.
Yeah.
We need to tell that police officer to take a vacation.
We really do. The traditional methods have made people so afraid of making a mistake that they have a police officer living in their throat. We have to lower that monitor by making the communication more important than the accuracy.
Let us talk about the physical feeling of overcorrection. Where do you feel it? For most people, it is a tightness in the throat or a tension in the jaw.
Definitely. I tell my students to check their bodies when they speak. If your jaw is tight, you are probably overcorrecting. If you are holding your breath, you are definitely overcorrecting.
You want to associate the sound of English with a feeling of physical relaxation. When you are relaxed, you don't care about the small mistakes. And when you don't care about the small mistakes, you speak more.
Right.
And the more you speak, the better you get.
This is the secret to long-term success in this 50-episode course. Most people quit because they make the process too painful. They make it a constant battle against their own errors.
But you cannot win a battle against yourself by attacking yourself. You have to win it with acceptance.
I remember a student who used to stop and restart his sentences 5 times because he wanted the perfect tense. He was so focused on the grammar that he never finished a single story. We spent 2 weeks just having him tell stories badly, on purpose.
And what happened to him?
He realized that he could still make me laugh and keep me interested even with bad grammar. Once he felt the joy of communication, he stopped caring about the perfection.
Right.
And strangely enough, once he stopped caring, his grammar actually improved because he wasn't so stressed.
That is a beautiful story, and it is the heart of what we are doing here. The Blueprint is a mistake-friendly zone. Anna and I make mistakes in our own lives all the time. We are here to talk to you like human beings. We want you to feel that same freedom every time you practice.
So, as we continue through this first module, let us look at the big picture. We have given you the tools to rebuild your entire relationship with English. You are no longer a victim of translation. You are a builder of blocks. You are a mapper of actions. And today, you are a defender of your own flow.
You have everything you need to succeed. The mindset is shifting episode by episode. In the next few episodes, we are going to start working on how sound works compared to logic. But for now, I want you to just be okay with being messy.
Yes, be messy. You have finished 4 episodes. You are still here. That is a huge accomplishment. Most people never even start because they are afraid of looking foolish. You have already moved past that fear just by listening today.
Your mission for this 4th episode of Module 1 is very simple. I want you to go into the comments and tell us one mistake you make often that you are going to stop worrying about today. Is it the letter S? Is it the word the? Is it using in instead of on?
We want to know what you are letting go of. Tell us the grammar rule that you are going to stop overcorrecting. Let us create a list of things we are allowed to get wrong so we can focus on getting the message right.
And while you are there, take a look at the other comments. You are part of a global community of messy builders. You are not doing this alone. Support each other and share the relief of not having to be perfect for all 50 episodes.
We will be in the comments reading your lists and cheering you on. We are so proud of the work you are doing and the courage you are showing by choosing flow over perfection. This is just the beginning. We have 46 more episodes to go, and each one is going to take you higher. But for today, just speak, just flow, and just enjoy the feeling of the blueprint freeing your voice. No overcorrection allowed.
I am so excited for the rest of this module. The topics coming up, like the speed of sound versus logic, are going to build perfectly on what we have discussed today. We're going to make sure your flow stays strong, while your logic takes a back seat.
It really is about the balance of letting go. But before we go, we want to remind you of the most important rule of the blueprint.
What is that, Ben? What should they remember above all else as they go through their day?
Fluency is not the absence of mistakes. Fluency is the ability to keep going despite the mistakes. Your errors are just evidence that you are speaking a second language, which is a superpower. Treat them with respect, but don't let them stop the show.
That is so true. Every mistake is just a sign that you are active and engaged. Keep being active, keep listening, and most importantly, keep being effortless in your delivery. Ben, do you think they realize that even native speakers overcorrect sometimes, and it makes us sound less confident?
Oh, absolutely. If a native speaker is nervous, they start overcorrecting and they lose their charisma. Confidence comes from accepting that the message is bigger than the words.
Right.
When you stop fixing yourself, you start being yourself.
I can feel it too. The energy in the comments is changing every day. People are moving from anxiety to excitement. That is the moment where fluency becomes a reality.
Mm-hmm.
When you are more excited to share your story than you are afraid to make a mistake, you have already reached the blueprint goal.
Excitement is the ultimate overcorrection killer. When you are excited, you are focused on the destination, and you don't worry about the small bumps in the road. You are like a driver on a beautiful highway.
That is what we want to foster in every single episode, that sense of freedom and speed. English shouldn't be a puzzle you have to solve perfectly. It should be a song you get to sing.
We are definitely going to do that. I have some great examples planned for the next episode that are going to show just how much logic gets in the way of natural sound.
I hope they are ready to let go of their logic for a bit. It is going to be a fun challenge, but a very rewarding one.
Anna, before we go, I just realized we should probably tell them what to do if they see someone else making a mistake.
Oh, you mean the temptation to be a grammar police officer for other people?
Exactly. If you want to stop overcorrecting yourself, you have to stop correcting others. It is all part of the same mindset.
That is a great point. If you judge others, you will fear their judgment. If you are kind to others, you will be kind to yourself.
Most people who overcorrect themselves are the ones who were judged the most in the past. We need to break that cycle by being the most supportive community on the internet.
And if you see someone making a mistake in the comments, don't fix it. Just respond to their message. Focus on the connection.
That's the curate your focus part of the sanctuary. Focus on the person, not the grammar.
I think they are ready. I think they have a solid understanding of why the inner critic needs to be fired.
Episode 4 is officially in the books. Great job, Anna.
Great job, Ben. And great job to all of you at home for choosing to be messy and brave.
We'll see you in the next one where we dive into the speed of sound versus logic.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Anna. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave comments about the Chatcast. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio for episode 5 of our first module. We have reached the halfway point of the mental shift module. We have already talked about breaking the translation trap, phrasal blocks, labeling, and even stopping that annoying habit of overcorrecting yourself. But today, we are going to dive into a concept that truly separates the students from the speakers. This is Module 1, Episode 5, and we are talking about the speed of sound versus logic.
Before we begin, we'd like to ask our listeners for a small favor. If you enjoy our Chatcast and find it helpful, please click the like button for this episode and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Good point, Anna. Liking our episodes and subscribing to our channel ensures that we can continue to offer valuable content in the future.
The speed of sound versus logic is one of my favorite topics because it exposes the biggest lie we are told in language school. We are taught that language is a logical puzzle. We are taught that if we understand the logic of the grammar, we will eventually speak correctly. But if you have ever tried to have a conversation at a busy cafe, you know that logic is far too slow for the real world.
Exactly. Logic is like a snail trying to race a jet plane. The jet plane is the speed of sound. When native speakers talk, we are not using logic. We are not thinking about why a sentence is structured a certain way. We are simply following the music of the language. We are following what sounds right.
This is a huge realization for many learners. They spend all their time asking why. Why do we say interested in but afraid of? Why does the verb move here? Why is this word silent? And the truth is, usually because it just sounds better that way to our ears.
It really is that simple and that frustrating. If you try to find a logical reason for every rule in English, you will go crazy. English is not a designed language like a computer code. It is a messy, organic thing that has grown over 1,000 years. It is built on the speed of sound, not the rules of logic.
So today, we are going to show you how to trade your logic for your ears. We are going to show you how to trust the melody of English more than the rules in your textbook. This is a vital part of the blueprint for effortless English because it frees up your brain to actually enjoy the conversation.
The first thing to understand is that logic requires processing time. When you use logic, you have to stop and think and analyze. But sound is instantaneous. Your brain is a master at recognizing patterns of sound without needing to understand the logic behind them. Think about your favorite song. You don't need to understand music theory to know when a note is out of place.
That is such a good point. You just feel it in your gut. You hear a wrong note and you flinch. We want you to reach that same level with English. We want you to hear a mistake and feel it in your ears before you even think about the grammar rule.
To do this, you have to stop being a scientist and start being a musician. A scientist wants to take the language apart to see how it works. A musician just wants to play the song. From now on, when you hear a phrasal block, I don't want you to ask why. I want you to just copy the sound and the rhythm.
This is why we always say that listening is more important than studying. When you study, you are feeding your logic. When you listen, you are feeding your ears. Your ears are what will actually help you speak at the speed of sound.
Let's look at a real example of sound versus logic. Take the phrase, I used to go. Logically, a student might think, okay, used is past tense, so I should use the past tense of go, too. But that sounds terrible to a native speaker. We say, I used to go, because that specific sequence of sounds is a frequent friend in our brains.
If you try to argue with the sound using logic, you will lose every time. The sound is the boss. If the logic says one thing but the sound says another, the sound wins. This is why native speakers often make logical mistakes in their own language, but they never make sound mistakes.
That is so true. We might say things that would make a grammar teacher cry, but they still sound natural because they follow the rhythm of the language. If you can master the rhythm, you can get away with almost any logical error and people will still think your English is great.
So how do we train our ears to work faster than our logic? One of the best ways is through what we call the shadowing sprint. For 1 minute, I want you to listen to a native speaker and try to mimic their exact sounds as they are saying them. Don't wait for the end of the sentence. Try to stay only half a second behind them.
This is a high-speed exercise. It forces your logic to turn off because it doesn't have time to analyze the words. You are just a mirror reflecting the sound. You are connecting your ears directly to your mouth.
It feels a bit chaotic at first, doesn't it? You feel like you are just making noise.
It definitely does. But that noise is the sound of your brain bypassing the logic center. You are practicing the physical movements of English at the speed of sound. You are training your muscles to move in those specific ways without needing permission from your conscious mind.
Another key to this is understanding that English is a stress-timed language. This means our logic is hidden in our rhythm. We don't say every word with the same length or power. We squeeze the unimportant words and stretch the important ones.
This is where logic really fails the student. A logical student thinks every word in a sentence is important, so they give every word the same amount of time. I am going to the store. It sounds like a computer.
But at the speed of sound, it becomes, I'm going to the store. We squeeze am and going and to and the into a tiny space so we can get to the big sounds. Your logic hates this because it wants to hear every word clearly, but your ears love it because it creates the melody of English.
You have to give yourself permission to be blurry with the sounds. Logic wants clarity. Sound wants flow. To be effortless, you have to accept that many words in English are almost silent, or they change their sound completely when they are spoken at speed.
You have heard me say.
This is why we tell you to listen to the Chatcast over and over. We want these rhythms to become so familiar that they feel like your own heartbeat. We want the speed of sound to become your new default setting.
I remember a student who was a brilliant engineer. He was a very logical person. He could explain every grammar rule in the book, but when he spoke, it was like he was walking through thick mud. He was so busy being logical that he couldn't keep up with the conversation.
What did you do to help him?
I told him to stop reading and start dancing. I made him listen to English music and just clap to the beat of the sentences. I told him he wasn't allowed to look at the lyrics. He had to just feel the stress and the rhythm.
And did it work?
It was a miracle. Once he realized that English had a beat like a drum, he stopped worrying about the why. He started matching his speech to that beat. His speed doubled in 2 weeks because he stopped waiting for logic to give him the green light.
That is the power of the blueprint. We are not just teaching you words, we are teaching you a new way to process information. We are helping you move from the slow lane of logic to the fast lane of sound.
This is the heart of what we are doing in this first module. We are rebuilding the machinery of your mind. We are taking out the translation and the overcorrection and the heavy logic, and we are replacing them with blocks and actions and rhythms.
You are halfway through the module now, and you should be feeling a difference. You might find yourself hearing phrases in your head without even trying. That is the speed of sound starting to take over.
Don't be afraid if it feels a little bit out of control. Fluency often feels like falling forward. You are moving so fast that you don't have time to worry about the ground. You just trust that your feet will find the next step.
Your mission for this 5th episode is to find a short clip of English audio. It could be 30 seconds of this podcast, and try the shadowing sprint. Try to copy the sounds as fast as you hear them. Don't worry about the meaning, just focus on the music.
And then go into the comments and tell us one word that sounds completely different in a sentence than it does in a dictionary. For example, how the word want to becomes wanna.
We want to see your discoveries. Tell us about the blurry sounds you are starting to hear. Tell us where the logic is failing and the sound is winning.
And while you are there, look at what others have found. You will realize that we are all hearing the same secret melodies. You are part of a global orchestra of English speakers.
This is just the beginning of the second half of this module. In the next few episodes, we are going to start building mental bridges and looking at the good enough rule. But for today, just listen for the beat.
Yes, listen for the beat. You have finished 5 episodes. You are halfway to completing your first module milestone. That is a massive achievement. You have shown that you are willing to look at language in a totally new way.
Your logic might be screaming right now that this is too simple or that you need more rules. Tell your logic to go sit in the corner for a while. Your ears are in charge now.
We will be in the comments reading your blurry word discoveries and cheering you on as you speed up. We are so proud of your progress.
This journey through all 50 episodes is a marathon, not a sprint. But today, we gave you a little bit of jet fuel. Use it, enjoy the speed, and most importantly, enjoy the sound.
I am so looking forward to episode 6. Building mental bridges is where we start to connect these sounds to your own personal stories.
It is going to be a great bridge to build. But for now, just breathe and listen to the rhythm of the world around you.
Ben, do you think they realize that the speed of sound is actually easier than the speed of logic?
Eventually, they will. Logic is hard work. It requires constant effort and energy. But sound is just something that happens to you. Once you stop fighting it, it takes you where you need to go.
It is like swimming with the current instead of against it. It is so much more relaxing.
That is the whole point of the blueprint. We want to find the path of least resistance. We want to find the way that is the most natural for the human brain.
And the human brain was built for sound long before it was built for grammar books.
Absolutely. We are just going back to basics. We are going back to the way we all learned our first language.
I can feel the momentum building in our community. People are starting to let go of their old habits.
That is the best part of this job, seeing that moment of release, seeing the light bulb go off when someone realizes they don't have to be a scientist to be a speaker.
Well, Anna, episode 5 is officially in the books.
Great job, Ben. And great job to all of you at home for being brave enough to turn off your logic.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Anna. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave comments about the Chatcast. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.